Joined now on the broadcast by Shawn Mullin, the voice of the WHL Swift Current Broncos, off to quite the start, 8-1 as we record this interview. Shawn, what's going on in Swift Current? Was this expected?
I don't think anyone expects a team to start 8-0 as the Broncos did, no matter how good you think you might be or might not be, especially in the context of the fact that the team played 5 of their first 6 games on the road. To win all of those is pretty remarkable. Are they that good? It really depends on a great number of things. I'm a big proponent of it's early, and I think they are a very good team. I think they are a team that's going to be among the better teams in the Eastern Conference. To the degree, are they consistently 8-1 team? I don't think almost any team is that good. But are they a contender? That'll take a while to flush out. Coach Vivero said the other day, if we just won 8 games in a row in the middle of the season, there wouldn't be the same level of talk that there is for the Broncos at the moment. So we'll have to be patient to see what this team actually is. And there are some holes here, like there are for any of the teams considered contenders in the WHL so far.
That's the case for any junior team for sure, and a wide open league here in the Q this season also. Who are key figures on that team, and also tell us about guys that have ties to NHL teams on the Broncos.
The key to start the season, the first big one that the stats would push you towards is the top line for Swift Current, which has been maybe as good a top line as there's been in the entire Canadian Hockey League. That's Tyler Steenbergen, Alexi Heponiemi, and Glenn Godden. So far, they've combined for 28 of the 42 Swift Current goals, and on top of that, have factored in on many more of those as well. Steenbergen, 16 goals on the season thus far in 9 games, so a very impressive start for that trio. Alexi Heponiemi, a Florida Panther draft pick, maybe the best playmaker in the league, frankly. And he's got a great shot. He's got 4 goals, too. Glenn Godden, former draft pick of the St. Louis Blues, went unsigned and was at Calgary Flames camp this summer. And he's a real power forward type and the captain here. And he's off to his best goal-scoring point start in his junior career. And Steenbergen, the legit sniper, at 51 goals last season, on pace for even more than that this year. He's a draft pick of the Arizona Coyotes. In goal, the Broncos made a deal before the start of the regular season to add Logan Flodell from the Saskatoon Blades, who's a 20-year-old and a legit number 1, maybe top 5 in the WHL this season. He's got the best save percentage among starters in the league in the early going and was just named WHL Goalie of the Week. He's a very impressive 20-year-old goaltender. And on the blue line, Swift Current has a returning core that features 6 guys that were full-time WHLers last year and another who was with the team to start and finish the year. So it's a very experienced group, and that's evident by the start the Broncos have had. I've long been a proponent of the success a veteran D core can bring you in the early going of a season. I mean, all the time as well, but especially early when other teams are working in a lot of young guys and inexperienced guys. When you have a veteran group in there that doesn't have to go through that adjustment period, it's a big heads up on what most teams have, and the Broncos have that veteran depth. That's been a big addition to that roster.
Looking at things in a more general sense, you're in Saskatchewan there, hockey mad province. It's about the size of Nova Scotia, yet you have 5 major junior teams. We only have 2 here. Who would be the Broncos' big rivals, the teams that the fans really get fired up to see?
I think another factor, too, is that we have maybe more favorable travel conditions to what Nova Scotia would to try to do something like that. I mean, Swift Current is an hour and a half from Moose Jaw, 2 hours from Regina, 2.5 hours from Saskatoon, 4 hours from Prince Albert. So the travel within Saskatchewan's all pretty tight, and all those communities are reasonable sized. Swift Current, the smallest at about 17,000 people in the city proper, maybe one of the smallest markets in all of the Canadian Hockey League. But in terms of rivalries, right now, the biggest rivalries are with Regina and Moose Jaw, and that's geographical and based on recent play, as they played both those teams in the playoffs last year in 7-game series. The nice thing about how the playoffs are organized in the WHL now is that the first 2 rounds are tied to the division with some wildcard mixing. So you end up playing your rivals more often, and last season, the Broncos played Moose Jaw in the first round and Regina in the second round, and that led to a lot of traveling fans and some fun hostility developing between the cities.
You know, you've been with the Broncos for a few years now. Before we hit record, we were talking about Jake DeBrusk. Tell us about some of the big names you've seen come through Swift Current.
8 years now, season number 8, I should say, and when I first got here, the big name on the roster was Cody Eakin, who is now a member of the Vegas Golden Knights and a big factor on their roster, and had been with Washington and with Dallas earlier in his National Hockey League career. Adam Lowry was a WHL MVP, the 4 Broncos Memorial Trophy Award winner when he was in Swift Current. He's now a regular with the Winnipeg Jets in the National Hockey League. So there's another guy. Julius Honka is right now with the Dallas Stars organization. He was only with Swift Current for 1 full season, but one of the most dynamic defensemen that I've ever seen in person, a lot like Heponiemi in the way that he plays. Coming up in Dallas, and they've really been patient.
Well, thanks for telling us all about it, Shawn. Great hockey thus far, and best of luck the rest of the season.
Thanks to you too, and I want to say hello to everybody in Cape Breton. I think I mentioned this 2 years ago, but when my family vacationed there when I was young, we all felt like we met the friendliest people that we have ever met before or since. It was an absolute pleasure being there and hope to make it back one day.
Well, people will be happy to hear that. You might have earned some Broncos fans in this part of the world. That's Shawn Mullin joining us on the broadcast. You're listening to Carstar Cape Breton Scream Eagles Hockey, 1270 CJCB.